On today's show,
hey, if there's a sign of somebody being legit, they're not playing and they're not midway through the third quarter, the game's decided. They're having to take it down to the wire with some pretty good teams, and they're winning.
And if one guy doesn't do their 1/11th on any given play, Great Bend's going to beat you deep, or Men's going to take off. Somebody's going to take off, and they're going to score, and they can do it very quickly, and they can put teams away early on in the game.
Welcome into another one. It's Kansas Sports Chatter, the statewide high school sports entertainment show, streaming on YouTube, and you can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Cole Reif, and that teaser for today's show, Great Bend, Hayes High. Man, we got an interesting segment coming up in today's show. We're going to bring in a couple radio broadcasters, Matt Dumler, who serves as a color commentator for the Hayes High Indians radio broadcast, and then Shawn Behr, who serves as a color commentator for the Great Bend Panthers radio broadcast. We're going to put those two guys in the same room. Well, not the same room, but they're going to be on the same interview and kind of previewing the upcoming matchup between Great Bend and Hayes. And there's so many good rivalries throughout the state, so many good, but sometimes you get years where, one team is head and shoulders above the other. Maybe both teams are down a little bit, but there's just so much, I don't want to say at stake for a regular season ball game, but just so much hype going into this one where two teams are really, really humming, and that is going to be the case tomorrow night in Hayes. And you talk about rivalry, though. Mentioned so many good ones throughout the state, but I can remember like Great Bend, the Eric Rondos and Jeremy Rusco, and more recently Jacob Murray, Jeremy Reed, Brent Meter, like all those great names that came through Hayes High, like Kirk Maska, then later Brady Maska, Preston Waggle, Marcus Watts was a beast back in the day. Recently, Malik Ball, like just so many big names that put their impact on that rivalry. It's going to be fun to see what happens tomorrow night with some more of those big names on both sides of the ball. So it's going to be fun to talk with both Matt Dumler and Shawn Behr, the radio broadcasters for tomorrow night's game. But also, you talk about tomorrow night's game. How about KCMC, Kiowa County Media Center? Did they pick a really good one for their area or their game of the week? They'll have that broadcast for you. If you want to watch Great Bend at Hayes, make sure you tune in. It's on the Huddle. You can search for it there. Also, the Facebook Live will be streaming on the KCMC Facebook page. Cameron Burney will be on the call. Always does a great job. Love his energy on play-by-play. And then Grant Newholt and his crew, the executive director. I mean, they have done phenomenal work at KCMC Sports. Really been fun to watch them grow and continue to put out really quality products. So make sure you watch that broadcast tomorrow night through the KCMC Sports Facebook page and also on Huddle. Looking at today's guests, Brooke Parham and Camille Avila, both out of Andover High School, will be part of our leadoff question, members of the volleyball team for Andover. Drake Mellies, did he have a game last Friday? He was voted the Big Performance Athlete interview this week, which you can vote on over the weekend on social media. Mellies out of Jackson Heights. We'll talk with him. Jeremiah Meeks, Wellington football coach, will be our quality time interview. Then we talked about both Matt Dumler and Shawn Behr, radio broadcasters for Hayes and Great Bend. We'll preview the matchup tomorrow night. Shelby Pronk, McPherson College women's soccer team and out of Derby High School, will be our next level talents. And we'll close things out with Austin McNorton from Concordia. He is the radio play-by-play voice of the Concordia Panthers, and he'll close things out with a radio highlights. Let's get things rolling. Let's talk some Andover volleyball with today's leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with Brooke Parham, one of the student athletes for the Andover volleyball team. Brooke, where is your favorite place to play besides your home court?
I would have to say our across-town rivals. We play Central at home a few times a season, and it's always really fun because they always have a big student section, and there's always a lot of energy, and it's just a great competition whenever we're there. So I love playing there.
Have you performed well there?
We have. We've been there multiple times. We've had it where it hasn't gone our way, but we've also had some great wins, and it feels amazing, especially being on their court and winning.
Do you remember any specific highlights from those matches?
Yeah, a few times. We had some big hitters when I was a freshman, and we had a big student section. They were definitely like going back and forth, and I just remember getting a kill and everyone just going really loud and being crazy about it. That's always really fun to experience.
What's it like going on the road for you, even especially some environments that may be a little bit more hostile? Like, what is that like for you when you're on the road?
Going on the road is definitely a lot more focused. We just want to make sure that we go in and take care of business no matter where we're going. So it's definitely a lot more focused environment, I would say, and just like opportunity to be in a new spot and still showcase our talents, I think is definitely like a great thing for us to be able to do.
Do you ever catch yourself just kind of looking around, maybe the court or the gym, maybe during a timeout or in between sets? Like, do you ever catch yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Being in all new places, like it's definitely a lot of schools are way different than ours. So depending on even just like last week we played at Salina South and their courts have like basketball goals up on the ceiling, stuff like that. So definitely catch myself looking around, just seeing like what's way different about the gym and just like how much space we'll have to move around and get the ball and stuff like that.
That is Brooke Parham with Andover Volleyball with our leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question on Kansas Sports Chatter, joined with Camille Avila, a member of the Andover volleyball team. Camille, what's your favorite place to play at besides your home court?
I would probably say state tournament, definitely. That's probably the best I played. So that's my favorite other than my home court.
What stood out about that facility that you enjoyed so much?
I think because there's so many teams playing at one time and everyone's parents and family members and friends and student sections are there supporting us. I think that, and definitely like trying to get ahead so we can move on to the second day. I think that's what caught my eye.
Do you remember any specific highlights from that match?
I think my favorite one was whenever we were playing St. James first set last year. It was our first game of the day. And even though it didn't go our way, I think we were doing pretty good against them because they are a pretty tough team. And I remember like we were down by a couple of points and everyone was like stressed out. And I remember getting a kill and everyone was just really excited. And it was just very fun. Playing against good teams is what gets us pumped up.
I know the court and the height of the net are the same dimensions anywhere you go, but when you're on a different stage like that, does it feel different when you're on the road on a big stage like that?
It definitely feels different, but it makes me play better. I don't know why. It just makes me like stand out more, and it just makes me want to play even harder and more confident.
What's that mentality like for you when you do go on the road? How do you keep your focus?
I think my focus is definitely listening to music and locking in before. Obviously say a little prayer before, and in a huddle we also say prayer before we start playing. Another way I keep my focus is just like this point mentality. Doesn't go our way, then move on to the next one and just keep building our momentum.
Do you ever catch yourself just kind of looking around wherever you're going on the road and like maybe in between timeouts or between sets? Do you ever catch yourself just looking around the crowd?
Yeah, I do all the time. I like looking around all the time everywhere. So it's like I'm paying attention to what's being said, but I'm always looking around to see like what's new, what's different, what everyone is saying, all the sounds.
That is Camille Avila, one of the members of the Andover volleyball team, with today's leadoff question. Thanks once again to Camille Avila and Brooke Parham from Andover High School with our leadoff question responses. We'll take a break. When we come back on Kansas Sports Chatter, Drake Mellies. He is our big performance athlete interview. Over the weekend, you can vote for a student athlete that had a big performance over the past week. It can be in any sports. And then the person on social media that has the most nominations, the most likes, and the most shares or retweets on Twitter or X will be given a chance to come on the show. And last week's winner was Drake Mellies of Jackson Heights, and he went off. We'll talk with Drake right after this. SPX Specialized Video Wall Solutions. Your gym needs SPX. It is our big performance athlete segments where people get to vote on who's going to be on the show, essentially. Over the weekend, we'll put out a post on social media where you can nominate a student athlete that had a big performance the previous week in any sports, and whoever gets the most votes by likes and retweets and shares on a Twitter or X, you can get that person invited on the show. And today's guest is going to be Drake Mellies. He's a member of the Jackson Heights football team. All right, Drake, before we get going here, just look at your stat line from last Friday night in a 55-0 win against Onega. 501 yards of total offense, 334 of those yards coming on the ground, school record, 167 yards through the air, 7 total touchdowns. And then, on the defensive side, he had a forced fumble. For you, what was the immediate reaction after realizing those numbers after the game?
During the game, I knew I had to have a decent amount of yards because, the 5 touchdowns or whatever, and then I had a couple 70-yard runs and stuff like that. So I knew I was up there, but towards the end of the game, I didn't realize I had over 500 yards total and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool to know.
During the game, do you get a sense, obviously when you're starting to rack up huge runs, but even a sense early on, okay, yep, this is going to be open for me or this is going to be successful?
Yeah. Once we realized that they were crashing hard on the outsides to our jets, I knew anything up the middle really would be wide open for me to run and stuff like that.
What was the conversation like with your offensive line? Do those guys just feed off of those types of performances?
Yeah, they love it whenever any of us backs are having a big game. It just makes them want to block even harder, I guess, and stuff like that.
How determined has this year's team been? You guys have had some success over the last couple of years, but right now, after the hot start right now, number 1 team in the state, how determined was this team coming into the season?
Yeah, we're very determined. I think everybody knows how last year ended, and just that itself probably drives this team 110% just to be that much better every week and stuff like that.
How would you say this team has improved from a year ago?
We definitely got a little bit older. We all matured. Most of us are seniors. So, yeah, just like that, having the experience of in the games and everything like that just helps so much more.
Who have been some other guys that have stepped up to help out Jackson Heights so far?
Austin Zeller for sure. He's our big tight end, him helping. He's a big target downfield. Sir Peak is a big target downfield. And then we got 2 running backs, Titan and Brody Browning. They're big, they can hand them off the ball. And then our freshman, Tatum Eisenbarth, he gets on the outside and he's quick. He can bust one anytime. We have a whole bunch of guys, really. A bunch of skilled guys, and our line's always great. Just a well-rounded team, really.
Well, I saw Coach Caleb Wick posting you guys got new equipment there in the weight room. How nice has that been?
Oh, yeah, he's on us every day. He's our gym teacher this year, so he's on us all that time. The new equipment's great. It's really something special that we have.
Hey, Drake, appreciate it. Nice job last Friday night. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That is Drake Mellies, a member of the Jackson Heights football team, and that is our big performance athlete. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. It is our quality time interview on Kansas Sports Chatter as we get to spend a little extra time with our next guest, Jeremiah Meeks, the head coach of the Wellington High School football team. Hey, Coach, appreciate your time. And I think you're a Western Kansas guy, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did a Western Kansas guy end up in Wellington? Guide us through your coaching path.
So when I got done at school at Hayes, I coached for a year at Piney Heights. And then I went to McPherson to coach to college there for 4 years. And then I took the Mound Ridge job and coached there for 6 years, and I still taught McPherson. And then when the Wellington job came open, I had some friends down here and kind of wanted to move up into 4A, and that's how that happened. So
So being from Hanston, like, what was it like? I mean, because like for people that aren't familiar with Hanston now, basically at Hodgman County, like, I mean, Hanston was a powerhouse. What was it like going to Hanston?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, obviously got to play for one of the best coaches, Coach Slayton. I lost 2 games my whole high school career, and both those were in state title games. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was one of those you expected to win every Friday, and you got to win a bunch of games and win state titles with your buddies, and it was a lot of fun.
Like growing up through that system, was there just like a culture of like successful athletic programs? Like what was it like in that culture?
Yeah, I mean, when you were growing up, everybody went to the football games. You were excited to play for coach when you got up there. You knew you were going to be good, and they started. I think they were really, really good my 5th grade year, 6th grade year, and then they started making. We made the runs to state for 7 years in a row after that. So.
At what point, like growing up in Hanston, did you kind of realize that you wanted to go on and play at the next level?
Probably about my sophomore year. I was like, I kind of want to keep playing. And then, that's kind of when the coaching, like I really started thinking about what I wanted to do, and teaching and coaching was something that I really wanted to do. So, I talked to coach about that a lot, like ideas, and then it just kind of stuck. And that's pretty much the only thing I ever wanted to do after that was coach football and teach.
So why you started out at Dodge City? What was the playing experience like at Dodge City?
It was fun. JUCO's fun. I mean, it was, and that was back when, you still had the limited out-of-state kids. So it was, a lot of Kansas kids running around, and it was a good time. So
you look at, other stops, like as far as like building your coaching resume, like what did you learn, like even after playing at Dodge City and going on to Fort Hays?
Well, I didn't play at Hays. I just went to school up there when I was at Dodge. So I played at Dodge and then just went to Hays. But just learning about the game, studying, watching, just it's kind of one of those that coaching's one of those you got to be in it to get better at it. And you're going to do a lot of dumb stuff in your first few years. You're like, ooh, that was a terrible idea. Why did I do that? And it just takes time to kind of build, your plan and what you got. And everything adds up and helps.
Getting your start, like you talk about, like getting that first coaching position. What was that process like for you?
When I coached at Pawnee Heights for a year. I think we had 9 kids playing that year. It was, I was super young, had no idea what I was doing. But it was good to get started there. And then going to the college was the best benefit for me because, I got introduced to a different style of offense and the 11-man game even more, and learned from college coaches, learned how to grind, kind of put everything in, spend the time, and that was huge.
You talk about learning at the college level, like what things stood out to you that you've really kind of taken now even to this current day?
Just, kind of managing practices, how you script everything, the time you put into first guy I worked for he was a really, really good offensive mind, and just kind of how he approached teams and attacked things. So that was beneficial for me.
You talk about scripting things and kind of figuring out practices. Like, what's your strategy now? I know it kind of probably differs at different times of the year, but at the same time, like, how do you put a practice together? We'll just say at this current moment, like, what's your strategy?
So we try to do. We're hammering out offense and defense both days. I know some teams try to do like an offensive day and a defensive day. That's something I changed when I came down here that I did a little differently. Other places I wanted to get them both in equal amounts of time. We're pretty run heavy on Tuesdays, and then all of our RPO stuff on Wednesdays. So we kind of structure that, and then between inside run and Skelly and team, I'm trying to get 60 plays in each day for the kids. So we're getting a ton of offensive plays. And then, defensively, we're doing the same thing. So they're getting a ton of plays in both ways.
Jeremiah Meeks, head coach of the Wellington football team, joining us here on the show. What's your weekend like as a coach? Because I always find it fascinating, just the amount of time that goes into investing into a good program and building that up. For your coaching staff, what's a typical weekend look like?
So I give them Saturdays. Saturdays are off for my coaches. And I also do it a little bit different. I give the kids the whole weekend off. I used to bring them in on Sundays, and with the way Huddle is, where they can watch it on their phones, we send them stuff they need. Their kids, they need time off. So Saturday is kind of for the coaches. I got a pretty young staff, and they've got a bunch of young kids. So, there's flag football and youth football and everything else going on. So, and then Sundays we come in at 1 and we'll meet from 1 to about 4:30 or 5. Everybody has their stuff put together by then. And then we'll go through the game plan and go from there. Obviously for me, Saturday, I'm watching it, on and off all day long and into the night, and then Sunday the same way. So
when you start breaking things down for that next opponent, is it a pretty simple process as far as, what Huddle provides for you? I mean, nowadays, is it a pretty simple process?
Yeah, it's simple. It's time consuming, but it's simple. But with Huddle, with the breakdown and everything, when you go through, and I'm blessed to have a pretty big coaching staff. I got 8 assistant coaches plus myself. So, 4 on defense and then 4 on offense and then myself. My O-line coach starts breaking stuff down. My quarterback coach starts breaking stuff down, and then I start putting everything together. Everybody has their ideas. So Huddle makes it, there's so much data on Huddle that if you use it right, it's very beneficial for you as a coach.
Coaching in the Shrine Bowl last year, what was that experience like being on that staff?
That was a blast. That was one of the coolest things I've got to do. Obviously got to work with Pav, McPherson, good buddy, and I got, to meet the rest of the coaches. A lot of those guys I had met in passing, but hadn't spent a lot of time with. And they were all really good dudes, and we had a lot of fun. And then getting to coach the kids, and obviously just for what the Shrine Bowl is about. That's the coolest thing. Each kid that asks about it, I tell them, you're going to have a really cool experience, and you're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to figure out why you're actually playing this game for the Shriners and everything. So it's like I said, it was one of the coolest experiences. And my oldest boy he hung out with me a couple days and was at practices and did all the pregame stuff with us. So it was a pretty neat experience for everybody involved.
When you get all those coaches together, just purely from the coaching standpoint, what's that like when you've heard about these coaches, you've seen the success they've had, and then all of a sudden you're around them for a week?
It's awesome. It's like a week-long coaches clinic. You're asking different ideas. You've got Coach Teeter's super young coach, so he was, and then you got Coach Gebhardt, who'd been doing it for 100 years, and it just pulling all that experience was cool to getting to talk to all these guys and see what they do well and what they don't do well, and if there's something you'd struggled with, in the past, hey, how do you guys approach this, and then just talking football. We'd get done with practices in the evenings and sit around and talk football and watch the film and, just BS. And that was one of the funnest parts of it, just talking ball with everybody.
You look at what you've been able to accomplish already at Wellington. You go back to that first season, that 5-4 campaign, then back-to-back 8-3 starts, or back-to-back 8-3 seasons, and then a great start this year. For you, what has been key in that natural incline in your success?
Just getting the kids to buy in. We had 44 kids when I took over here, and we've averaged anywhere between 65 and 70 kids since then. The kids are bought in, that they'll play hard for me. It's a testament to them because they put the time in the weight room. This group of seniors is obviously my first freshman. That was my first full 4 years, and they've bought in. They've done a great job. They're good leaders, and it's just, building something is hard. It takes time, and then keeping it going is harder, and you got to have the kids buy in to be able to do that.
Anything that stands out as far as being keys to getting kids to buy in? Have you noticed anything?
Building a relationship. It's just like anything. If you ask any good teacher, good coach, or, any employer those relationships are huge. If you don't have a relationship with anybody, they're not going to, especially kids, they're not going to work for you. They're not going to trust you. And if they don't trust you, they're not going to buy in. So.
No, this worked out really well so far. Hey, Coach, appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That is Jeremiah Meeks, head coach of the Wellington High School football team. That'll do it for our quality time interview. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Kansas Sports Chatter gets back at it as we bring in our next guest, and that's going to be Matt Dumler and also Shawn Behr. Dumler serves as the color commentator for the radio broadcast in Hayes for 96.9 KFIX and HayesPost.com. Shawn Behr serves as the color commentator for the Great Bend radio broadcast on B104.3 The Points and GreatBendPost.com. All right, we bring you in case anyone's been under a rock over the last couple of months. There's a pretty big game happening in Ellis County this upcoming Friday night as Great Bend will go to Hayes for football. And we'll start with Matt. I mean, does this feel like a Week 7 matchup that has just taken forever to get to?
If I'm going to be honest, this feels like it should be about a Week 12 or 13 matchup that we've been excited about. Great Bend's always been on kind of the highlight of the schedule all season as Hayes has navigated a very difficult schedule. We've been kind of watching the offense kind of plan out for that and the defense. But it is definitely one that they have marked down, especially I think coming off of last year where they split that season series. Great Bend took the regular season, and then Hayes was fortunate enough to get it in the playoffs. But it is a big rivalry game, and it's going to be an amazing atmosphere with the new stadium opening up and Great Bend they're being there the first time, and then you throw in the quality of the teams that are coming. But, yeah, this is definitely a game that we've been looking forward to.
Shawn, same question to you. Are you finally ready for this matchup?
I think so. You look at the schedule and you look ahead, and you don't like to look ahead, but you see Hayes, and thank goodness they got it right, because usually we've been playing Week 2, and it was just way too early in the season to be having to beat up on each other. But Matt kind of alluded to it. It feels like a Week 12 matchup, and quite honestly, maybe we see it all in Week 12 again.
Right. Well, I mean, for you, we'll start with Shawn this time. I mean, we'll play the compliment game. What has impressed you the most about Hayes High so far this year, Shawn?
Just look at their strength of schedule. I mean, it's. I was kidding with Armbruster, and I said, what are you guys trying to do? Get the RPI built up, because you guys did not do a patty cake schedule at all. First 4 weeks, you're tapping on the door of the top 5, 6A teams, and you guys are going, head to head with them, nose to nose, winning games late, which, that's really hard to do it with a team early in the season, is to have that much consistency and be able to do the things that they did late. So, for me, that was like, hey, if there's a sign of somebody being legit, they're not playing, and they're not midway through the third quarter, the game's decided. They're having to take it down to the wire with some pretty good teams, and they're winning. So,
Matt, for you, what stood out in your early preparation on Great Bend?
Well, I think it starts with that offense and how quickly they can score and the number of points that they can put up. It doesn't matter how good of a defense you have if one person. I hear Tony Crow use the phrase "do your 1/11th." He uses that quite a bit in post game. And if one guy doesn't do their 1/11th on any given play, Great Bend's going to beat you deep, or Men's going to take off. Somebody's going to take off, and they're going to score, and they can do it very quickly. And they can put teams away early on in the game if somebody's not careful. So I think that's going to be, for Hayes going into this game, they're going to have to watch that offense for Great Bend.
And then now with the teams that you guys know the best, Matt, for Hayes High, I mean, I think a lot of people are looking at that offensive line and, and obviously Lind and what he's been able to do. What's impressed you so far just watching Hayes High through the first 6 weeks?
Sure. I think it's the way that they don't give up. They've been down a couple of times in these games, but they continue to stick with Hayes High football. They just grind out the clock, put together long drives. They stick with that run even when it's not running, because they know at some point that offensive line, as you alluded to, is going to wear teams down. It's not uncommon to find games mid-third quarter where the defense is just worn out and the offensive line starts getting pushed and Holden starts breaking off bigger runs. The offensive line, though, did take a shot a couple of weeks ago against Junction City. We lost our right guard, Maximo Luno, but luckily there's been a couple guys step in and fill in for that. But the development of that offense for Hayes High, the run game, they started to find a connection with Jarek Purdy and Zane Dieger. They've hooked up for 5 touchdowns over the last couple of games, and it's not mistakes either. Zane's putting it in a tight window. Viega's been able to throw the ball, and then Purdy's able to make some catches. So that's a nice compliment to that running game. My question, though, coming into this game is going to be, is Hayes fatigued too much to hang with Great Bend?
Shawn, for you, what stood out through the first 6 weeks for the Great Bend Panthers?
Well, I think it was great that we got our question answered because early on we knew we had skill positions. I mean, you got kids going to Notre Dame and you got kids going on recruiting trips, no different than what Hayes is doing. But, our big question was, okay, we got the skill positions. What about that offensive line? And, Kern and Dynas and Brown, they have all stepped up and really proved that, hey, it was no worry. It was no concern. We've been able to have a pretty good balance of running and passing, and we're very effective when we do that. Bring in that freshman, who not too many people knew about, Colby Sporer. He's a big kid, going to be big dividends down the line for Great Bend. But I think for the most part, that was what was going to be the key, is how good could we do it in the trenches. And for us, that's really held true all year. And now you got Holiday and Kelly being able to run the football, which opens things up for Omocht and Premer over the top. And if Minton feels a little pressure, he's good enough to break, contain, and get it down. So I think, quite honestly, that's for me has been just a solid relief, because so many times you see kids that are great individually and have a lot of potential, but the 1/11th philosophy, the other 5 out of the 11 aren't doing their job or can't make it work. So for us, it's good to see the offensive line has stepped up and allowed our tools to go to work.
You mentioned Colby and some of those other guys, Shawn. Anyone else on the Great Bend team that's kind of stepped up? Because, I mean, a lot of people know those big names like Premer, and you mentioned Minton and Omont and Kern. Like, anyone else that's kind of, not want to say surprised you, but that's really stepped up that it maybe didn't get as much recognition?
Yeah, I'm going to, Connor Holiday, the kids in Great Bend give him kind of a little bit of flack because he's a podcaster or whatever they call it, whatever they do these days.
Maybe a TikToker?
Yeah, TikToker. That's
okay.
What it is. He's on there and he's showing you his workout ethics and how much he does in the weight room. And I know that's a big Post-it note for him, but he really has stepped up. I mean, he's a guy that's strong, got a lot of talent and speed, and to get down in there in the trenches against some pretty good offensive linemen, that says a lot about him. On the defensive line as well as Josue Bustamante, he doesn't get a lot of airtime, but the kid takes the double teams and does a great job to free up the Kern boys. The Kern linebacking crew is definitely top notch. They play downhill. They come after you. They don't wait around and let you get an angle on them. They're attacking. And then Fancher on the defensive side, he's just a kind of a small, undersized kid that really has stepped up. But the one that's really funny is Cohen Raborti. His sophomore year, he's sitting there, he's drinking iced teas after school and eating chips, and his buddies are giving him flack for not actually coming out for football. And last week, I think he had 2 interceptions. The weekend before, I think he had a couple interceptions. He's playing a great corner. And as far as a punter, I mean, he's the guy that gives it plenty of hang time. So, the names that they all know, they're out there, but there's a lot of kids that are stepping up and doing their 1/11.
Does he still drink iced teas after the game?
Probably. He might even, I think there's enough people that'll probably get him a nice vanilla Coke or something.
There you go. Matt, same question for you. Who stepped up for Hayes that maybe isn't getting as much recognition as they should?
Sure. I'll give you 2 names, both kind of trying to fill in the same position. Little back history. We lost our starting tight end, Parker McGuire, during the Derby game to a nasty knee injury that he's still waiting to get surgery on. And so in order to fill in that role, we've had Jesse Taggart and Alex Loving, 2 kids that were going to get a little bit of playing time. Alex is kind of switching over to the offensive side of the ball this year. But Parker was a tremendous route runner. He threw some blocks in the Derby game that really allowed that victory to happen. And just within a week, Jesse and Alex were asked to fill in that role, and they have done that admirably. They kind of tag team, because Hayes is known for bringing in extra offensive linemen and running 2 tight end sets to spring Holden free. And both of those gentlemen have come in and been able to do that. They actually both came up with some really good catches against Dodge. Alex he's a 6'2" kid that had to use all of his frame and arm length to come down with the ball to pick up a crucial first down. And Jesse Taggart got one for him as well. So that's kind of on the offensive side of the ball. And then you hear a lot of our defensive guys called, but one that is Caleb Thompson. You've probably heard his name some. He's not necessarily the standout all-star athlete that, like the Chartiers and the Geists and those guys. But Caleb Thompson's really what makes the back end of that secondary go. And then Caleb Rowe would be another one that you don't hear a lot about, but that's because he's usually doing his job, and his man doesn't come down with that football very often.
Hey, guys, appreciate the time. Shawn, make sure, I know you're partial to Lewis Field Stadium, but make sure you don't show up there Friday night, all right?
Yeah, I'll head out east, but I am going to hit this taco shop in the queue on my way out of town.
There you go.
Good stops. Matt, appreciate it. Shawn, also appreciate it.
Matt, best of luck to you. I'd say let's put some hair on the deal, but Armbruster doesn't have any, so
no, he's already lost that bet.
Good luck, guys.
All right, see you, Shawn. See you, Cole.
That is Shawn Behr and also Matt Dumler. You can listen to Dumler's broadcast on 96.9 KFIX and HaysPost.com. Shawn Behr will be with Mike Kesher on B1043 The Points and KickBinPost.com.
Mental health is crucial, especially during high school activities. It is a time when we're juggling a lot, school, sports, and clubs, and it can get overwhelming. Sometimes we might feel stressed or down, and that's okay. It's okay to ask for help when we need it. Taking care of our mental health is just as important as our physical health. Remember to support each other and create a positive environment in our high school community.
Kansas Sports Chatter's back at it with our next level segments, and this is where we get to talk to former high school athletes in the state of Kansas that are now competing at a college or university in the state of Kansas. And today's guest, Shelby Pronk, a member of the McPherson College soccer team and out of Derby High School. Shelby, appreciate the time. How's the season treated you so far?
Pretty good. I've loved the season so far. I love the girls. I love the chemistry, and I love the energy our coach brought into the season, freshly new.
Well, before we dive into, McPherson College soccer and how you landed there, go back to Derby High School. What was your experience like at Derby a couple of years ago?
It was good. I love the girls, the connections I had. I just made a lot of good friends along the way. Most of my friends were from soccer. So yeah, that's about my Derby High School experience.
What got you interested in soccer? Like at what age and what made you kind of, okay, this is my sport?
So I was 3 years old. What really got me into it is I had this girl across the street and she'd always be outside playing soccer. And then she's kind of the one that taught me. She's a few years older than me. And I just started playing it and then eventually just got to a competitive level. And I just had a really big passion for it. So I wanted to continue it as long as I can.
Now, 3 years old, I don't expect you to remember all the details, but did you just introduce yourself over there and say, hey, can I play?
Yeah, the YMCA, I was just she was I play at the Y, and I was oh, okay. And then my mom put me in the next time at the Y.
So for you, growing up, was the goal always to play at, high school and to get to Derby and play at the varsity level?
I wouldn't say the goal. I more always thought about college. I had an NCAA app right out of sophomore year, and I was always looking to play in college.
Derby, I mean, you look at their high school, the facilities at Derby High School. What were those like and just playing there at Derby High School?
So I think our facility, we just built a grass field. They built it when I was a sophomore in high school for just a soccer team, and it's very lovely. The grass is very nice. They really worked on that. And then also we have an indoor facility, so we have the little the turf that was there. So we also got to practice inside too sometimes. So we have really good facilities and trainers and all that kind of stuff at Derby High School.
What were the numbers like for girls soccer? How many girls were going out on a typical year ballpark?
So my underclassmen years, not very much. We had about average 22 girls. My last 2 years, we had a lot of girls try out. I feel it was almost up to 40 girls try out every year. And about, I think, 22 make the varsity roster, and the rest are on JV. And then obviously cut 5 to 6 around then. But
for you, listed as a midfielder on McPherson's team this year, has that always been your go-to position, or did you kind of flop around, as you grew up?
So when I grew up, I actually played outside back and center back majority of my life. And then I pushed up too much, so my club coach put me at midfield, and that's where I like to be because I'm a very technical player. I like to play a lot. So midfield is definitely where I love to play. But I did play defense most of my life.
So you mentioned pushed up a little bit too much. Was that something like coaches were yelling at you for a while, like get back?
Yeah, because as a center back, I was pushed up almost towards my mid, and I would get beat, and it was not good. So I just started playing midfield.
Why McPherson College? What was the recruiting process like for you, and how you chose them?
So originally, I had an old coach, Mark, and so I really liked talking to him. And then I came to McPherson, and it just felt like better because I also went to other places. Like I went to MNU, Ottawa, and all those other places. But I really liked McPherson. I liked the small town, and I liked the girls I met. And genuinely, the seniors last year were some of my closest friends. And so it just felt like home. So I in the soccer program, I wanted to be a part of something that could be better. So yeah.
What's the schedule like for you as a collegiate athlete? And it probably changes from day to day or week to week. But give me a typical day in the life of a soccer player at McPherson College.
So a typical life is Wednesday and Saturdays we play, and we mostly have games. This week we don't have a game Wednesday because it's bye week, but we mostly practice around 5 or 4, and then on Tuesdays we'll have film, and Fridays we'll have film before the game at 4. But then we'll practice for about an hour and a half to 2 hours every single day, mostly around 5 o'clock. And then obviously class schedule. I have most of my classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then we're planning to work Tuesdays and Thursdays as well.
I'm always, interested in just, balancing that type of schedule as a student athlete. Do you like having that kind of, not want to say a strict schedule, but where, you're pretty much occupied, every period of the day?
For me personally, I like it a lot because I stay on top of things. I need to have kind of a little bit of pressure because if I have too much free time, I'll get bored and I'll just do it. But I like this tight schedule, and I like how coach cares a lot about grades and everything else. So I stay on top of things just so I can be able to play soccer as well.
Last one for you, Shelby. I mean, anything that you took from McPherson, from Derby High School that has led to the success you're having at the college level now? Anything that stands out that you picked up in high school?
Nothing I really picked out from high school, but things I've learned from high school is don't let it get to you, I guess, because it got to me quite a bit. It wasn't the best atmosphere for me, but then I got to college and I got my confidence back and everything. I loved the sport and everything came back to me. So I feel you just have to be patient with it, because I know a lot of girls quit in high school just because of that, and I would just say stick with it, because genuinely when you get to college, it's a different field, different people. It's amazing.
Shelby, appreciate the time. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you for having me.
That is Shelby Pronk, a member of the McPherson College soccer team and out of Derby High School for our next level talents. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. Kansas Sports Chatter, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and business owners, if you want to advertise on the show, you can reach out, contact information on social media, also ksportschatter@gmail.com for any advertising opportunities. Again, a quick plug for the game of the week through KCMC Sports. You can listen to that broadcast and watch that broadcast for free on Huddle, and also the Facebook live stream on the KCMC Sports Facebook page. That'll do it for today's show. Closing things out, Austin McNorton. He is the voice of the Panthers of Concordia High School, and he brings us one of his radio highlights.
Do or die time for both teams. Walklinger in the gun, takes the snap, throws it deep downfield, wide open, caught! 10-5 touchdown! Oh my God, the Panthers have made it a one-point game. A touchdown pass to an unguarded Aiden Creer down the near sideline. The Panthers score.